All right, welcome to the Flare Up Show. This is your host, Chrissy, and this show is produced by the amazing Clarissa Burt in the Limelight Media. And today I have Andrea Waltz. She is the co-founder of Courage Crafters, Inc., and co-author of the best-selling book, Go for No, Yes is the Destination, No is How You Get There. For 2 decades, Andrea has been teaching people in virtually every business and industry how to think and feel differently about failure, rejection, and the word no to achieve their goals and dreams. Andrea is considered a top sales influencer online, and her book reached #1 on Amazon's sales and selling list in 2010. She's remained in the top 50 sales books for the last 13 years, having now sold over 500,000 copies. The Go for No strategy has been featured in many online and offline magazines and journals, including Success Magazine, Forbes, and many others. We are so thrilled to have you today. Thank you, Andrea, for your time.
I am so excited to be with you, Chrissy.
I really love this. I have to share. So, my audience knows I'm neurodivergent. So, one of the things I struggle with is rejection sensitivity. So, I absolutely love your approach because a lot of times anxiety and those sensitivities we have, the answer to that is exposure therapy. So, that's really what this sort of boils down to, not that it's a therapy. But can you maybe just share the concept around Go for No, how you came up with this and why it's such an important message to share?
Absolutely. Well, you're probably one of the only people that has ever brought that out, and you brought it out so quickly. That's exactly what it is. I mean, that's the solution, if you will, is exposure therapy. So the idea behind Go for No is that if you want more yeses in your business, in your sales career, or just in your life, just asking for things and favors or help or whatever, you've got to be willing to hear no more often. And
Mhm.
so that's a counterintuitive concept because most people, they want to go for yes, they want it to be easy, and they don't want to have to hear no. They don't want to go for no. Why would you want to go for no? It sounds ridiculous. But that really is the methodology. It's being willing to embrace the no's, be willing to hear it on your pursuit of yes. And so one of the big solutions to your point is you got to do it more often.
Yes. Yes. Are you able
Easier,
to
easier
maybe?
said than done, right?
Yes,
Easier said than
yes,
done.
We're good. No, no, no. I wanted to know, like, was this something you struggled with in your career before? Like, is this something that came out of a personal need, or was it something that you recognized working with people?
So there's kind of two parts to this. The first part is my husband and business partner Richard and I met when we were working at Lens Crafters,
Hmm.
and he told me this Go for No story, and it was really a sales story. It was a time where he was selling suits for a living. This customer came in, wanted to buy an entire wardrobe of clothing. So Richard proceeds to have this amazing sale, and then his boss, his district manager, came over and said, "What did that customer say no to?" And Richard said, "What do you mean? I just had this fantastic sale. This guy bought all these clothes." And he said, "Yeah, I know what he said yes to, but was there anything that you put in front of him that he said no to?" And Richard said, "No, he bought everything that we looked at." And he said, "Well, then how did you know he was done?" And his district manager said, yeah, well, Richard in that moment had to admit that how he knew he was done was he just ended the sale. Like there, it was like that was enough money that was spent. That was it. Ring him up, send him on his way. And his district manager said, your fear of the word no is going to kill you, but you're a good salesperson and you could be really great if you could learn to get over this." So Richard struggled with this idea of no in sales and rejection and not wanting to push people, not wanting to look pushy or aggressive and all of these things. And then he told me that story, and I identified with it up to a point. Like I actually thought I was this superstar salesperson. And when he told me that story, I was like, yeah, I guess the truth is I don't like to hear no very much. It was never like a struggle for me. I just kind of prejudged people and tried to protect myself. Like, well, if they're gonna say no, then why would I even ask? Why would I go through that? Why would I put myself through that rejection? So so, Chrissy, these things between my experience, my beliefs around rejection, and Richard's experience, we realized that this was something that was a problem that we were both passionate about solving. So, we wrote the book Go for No, and we incorporated it into our speeches and the presentations we were doing at that time for retail companies. And And now that we've been doing it all of these years, it's kind of transitioned to where we really help anyone. I mean, anyone who has to face rejection, anybody. So it's not necessarily sales, it's people in business, it's people, like I said in the beginning, anybody who has to ask because they struggle with it. So yeah, it came from our own issues with it for sure. Because I don't think that if you are one of those people, and they are out there, they are unicorns, but they are out there. They love to come up to me and tell me it's not an issue for them. But the unicorns who say, "Oh, I have no problem with rejection. I can take it all day long. No, I eat no for breakfast," and the rest of us are like, "Really? How do you do that?" Because that is really difficult for the rest of us. And I would say the rest of us, meaning like 90%, 95% of us. There's the
Some people
small
are
piece.
masochists. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and some people, they like it. Now, I will tell you though, after
Yeah.
working on this for so long and practicing it for so long, for me personally, it has been some exposure therapy. I
Yeah.
do find myself like I don't care as much. But here's the really interesting thing that I've noticed personally, and I see this in people that I coach, and when I do these go for no challenges where we have small groups and we meet weekly to talk about the challenge that of going for no, and how many no's we've collected. It's really kind of a cool thing.
Yes.
The physical sensation of rejection, like if you've ever been rejected, whether it was somebody who you asked out, or it was like you got some rejection letter in the mail or a rejection email, there's like that pit of your stomach kind of achy, sick feeling, or you feel it in different places. For me, it's the pit of my stomach. Maybe it's your chest, and that physical sensation is biologically wired into us. So
Yeah.
there's no getting rid of that, no matter how good you are at exposing yourself to it and numbing yourself to no and just doing it over and over. There's always that little physical sensation. Some people can work at that, and I think with enough work you can get to a place where it's mitigated, and you feel it and you let it pass through, right? You just kind of accept it, and then you let that
Mhm.
quickly pass through. But for the rest of us, yeah, that feeling is hard to go away, and it may never. So the answer is, well, what do you do then? And the answer is, you've got to experience the rejection, and you've got to accept those feelings.
And normalize it. Yes, I love that. It's, I think people do assume that, especially if it's something that they're new into, or maybe they're in a different career or type of career where they're not used to like understanding the mathematics behind it. Like you have to experience a certain amount of no's to get yeses. Like it's just law of averages, right?
Mhm.
So, but also from the other side, what I love about that story about the suit, I had a similar experience where I assumed that the person wouldn't buy anything. So I just started like packing up my stuff, my demo, whatever it was that I was doing at the time. And they're like, wait a second, I want to buy something. Did you just assume that I couldn't afford your stuff? And I was like, oh, it's not even about me. My job is just to do the asking. Their job is to do the answering. I don't know. And there was a quote that you have on your Instagram about like if you're making assumptions, that is your own self-talk. That's what you're telling yourself. It's not actually their story. Can you share a little bit about that and why we like to project on people?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's a protection mechanism. So
Yeah.
what we do is, instead of asking, and this was my kind of classic modus operandi for this, because as much as I thought I was a good salesperson, I would make assumptions. So I'd say to myself, well, they can't afford this, or they're just going to say no to this, or they didn't bring this up. So why, if they didn't bring it up, why would I bring it up? I'm not going to ask them and put them in an uncomfortable situation. So I really wasn't looking at it from the standpoint of, hey, to sell is to serve somebody at the highest level in any type of business is by asking. I mean, we all go out to eat, and the server will come over at the end and say, hey, we've got like an amazing dessert. We've got homemade apple pie. We, you could look at that and go like, well, she's just trying to sell us on apple pie and make a couple extra dollars in tip or whatever. But wouldn't you be if you were like the greatest apple pie aficionado on the planet, you would appreciate that as a service. And so
Mhm.
instead of making assumption of, well, they're not going to order dessert, I can tell they're full, they got to go boxes. No, you have to just ask. And what we do is we protect ourselves so we don't ask. And in essence, we're really giving ourselves the no. So it does become a lot of self rejection before we have a chance to get rejected from someone else. And that's the critical thing about this is it's easier to reject ourselves. It's easier to say no to our dreams, no to our desires or our wants. And what we have to change, the model of the change up model, is to be willing to hear and accept no from someone else. And what happens in your brain when you get that no is your brain automatically asks, "Oh, what does this mean? What does this mean about me? Am I not valuable? Am I unworthy?" Your brain will start asking itself all of these questions. And it's in those answers that we have to be careful of how we answer it, which is, no, that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm not valuable or unworthy or whatever story that we happen to be telling ourselves.
Yes, I love that. So, what is a practical way people can do this? So, let's say we have some salespeople listening right now, or even people that want to offer services, but they're nervous to get out there and get those no's. How could they use this challenge day to day?
Practical way, couple things. One is start from where you're at and create a no awareness. So by that I mean just kind of do an assessment. Look around. Do you ever ask? Would you say that you are a common asker, a frequent asker? Like, oh yeah, if I see something, I'll ask for it. If I see somebody giving out samples of something, I'll go up and ask. I'll ask for two. I have no shame. Or are you somebody who says, no, I don't ask a lot. If I need help, I won't ask. If I believe that there's any chance of a no, I won't ask. So you do that assessment, and then you decide, what is the thing that you are really going after? Is it a sale? Is it a job promotion, a job change, a raise, whatever? You want the neighbor to help you out with something, and say, okay, how many no's is it going to take to get that handled? Now, in some cases, it might be lots of no's. It might be like going for a job. In some cases, it's as simple as, I need to walk across the street, knock on my neighbor's door, and ask them for this thing, right? So, and sometimes it's simple, but gamify it. So the practical fun thing that you can do, and this really is kind of that exposure therapy, and this was done very successfully by a guy named Jia Zhang. He wrote a book several years ago called Rejection Proof. And when it came out, as the go for no person, I was like, I immediately reached out to him and I'm like, I love your book. It's amazing. He did something that was based off of a project that was started in Canada, and it's literally called rejection therapy. This has been kind of big on TikTok as of late as well.
Mhm.
And rejection therapy is fundamentally going out every single day. And he asked for something weird or crazy every single day, one ask. Now, he wasn't trying to get a no. He also wasn't trying to get a yes. I mean, I guess in the big scheme of things, he was, but he wasn't really worried about whether he got a yes or no. What he was concerned about was the practice of
Yes.
asking, right? And getting good at accepting that no. So he asked to sleep in a mattress store, to take a nap on one of their mattresses, which he actually got a yes to, by the way.
Love that. Yeah.
Right? I mean, he was on a Southwest Airlines flight and asked if he could go over the loudspeaker and talk to the passengers. They said yes to that. He asked, I think couple different ones with police, like I remember I suggested, like, ask if you could sit in the front seat of the car, because he was looking for suggestions, like, what crazy things can I do? He certainly, of course, asked people for money. So
Hmm.
crazy. One of his challenges of the 100 days, he actually asked people if he could give them money. And do you know he got a ton of no's to that? People would not. He's like, "Hey, can I give you 10 bucks? Can I
I
give you
thought there was
$5?" They were
strings.
like, "Strings." Yeah, they're like, "No, no, 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 I don't know." So he got no's to that. But so Chrissy, the whole point to this is that the practical application is you get out there and you ask and you learn to accept those no's as part of the process. And you see that, like he did, I didn't die. I survived. Yes, some people thought he was crazy. Yes, some people thought it was weird because he would ask for crazy things. But we all have practical things that we want in our life. And asking is usually a part of that. So what are the things that you need to that you want? And what are the asks that you need to make to get there? And
Mhm.
then start making a game of it.
Yes, and let them answer and let it go. You made me think of Ted Lasso. There was an episode where he's like, be a goldfish. Goldfish has a memory of 10 seconds. You ask, they say no. 10 minutes, you're like, okay, well, where's somebody else to ask, right? Like, just don't carry the results because you can only control what you control, and that's the asking. So I absolutely love that. I want to ask now, so going for no's, and sometimes it takes a lot of no's with even one person. How do we balance the line between getting enough no's and being appropriate and conscientious, with over knowing and being something that I used to joke was being an ask hole, where it's clear they don't want you to ask anymore, but you might still be pushing. Like, how do we balance that line between make sure we're getting enough no's, where we're working hard enough, right? Like we're getting beyond our perceptions, but also being aware of what's the appropriate amount of no's to be pushing someone for.
Such a good question. It's probably the number one question that we get asked is where's
Hmm.
the line? And there is a problem with the line of demarcation here of what is, and I love ask hole. That's so funny. It's so great. I have heard that before, but I've never heard over knowing,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna steal from you because I love that too. Don't over
Absolutely.
know, right? That's so great. So what is that line of demarcation? And the problem is it's different for everybody. So what might be annoying to you is going to be completely like cool with somebody else, and they might take it 5 or 10 times in terms of the number of times you come back and ask and all of that. And so yeah, you just don't know what that number is. And the funny part is I'll give you an example. This friend of mine, she's an author like me. She's has a book that was coming out, and she wrote me an email and she's like, hey, I would really love for you to read my book. Maybe give me an endorsement if you could. Let me know, like any feedback would be appreciated. And I was so busy. I was so overwhelmed. I'm like, I, I have to say no. I just can't do it. And by the way, saying no is also a really important skill. It goes hand in hand with this.
Yeah.
I just can't do it. And man, I mean, she's a student of Go for No. Like I had to respect her Go for No in this here. So she comes back and she's like, Andrea, I totally understand. Good news though, my publisher, we just pushed back like a month, so that gives you like extra time. Would you be able to do it now that like there's so much extra time added? And I was like, oh, I still don't, So she comes back again and she's like, hey, but, and I hadn't even had a chance to answer her. Like a couple weeks went by and I thought, oh, I really need to give her an answer one way or the other. And she wrote me back and she's like, we're pushing back again. It gives you even more time. And I'm like, all right, fine. Okay. She got her yes. But she did it always politely, persistent. And I had never felt like it was an impossibility to say no. I felt like I could come back. So I think that because you don't know the individual, it is always important to give people an out, to make sure that when you are making your ask, to qualify it and label it. So sometimes it may just be as simple as like just weird example. I, I'm just pulling this. Like if I said to you, hey Chrissy, I really want to come back on the show. I know that now to just ask that would just be so odd, right? Just out of, but what if I qualified it and I said, hey, Chrissy, I know this is a crazy thing to ask. And I was literally just on your show yesterday, but I've got a new book coming out. So would it be completely unreasonable for me to come on your show in 2 months? So when we ask for things and we label and we qualify that ask and we give somebody context, I think it's a
Yes.
lot better, right, to have them understand it. It ups your chances of getting the yes, but it also takes away that pushiness. And then give people an out. So you can say, You can say, and listen, if it doesn't work for you, if you're just overloaded with guests, no problem. A no is a perfectly fine answer. Just let me know one way or the other. So there's that how to ask. In regards to the number of times, how many times do you go back and you make the same ask over and over again? I will tell you this, because I don't know the number and because it's going to be dependent on the situation, most people go way too light. They go like, "Oh, I sent that one email. Well, I texted the person that one time. I made that one. I made the did the voicemail one time." No, one time is never one. Just keep this in your mind. Repeat after me. One time is never enough. Never, ever, ever. In fact, a really good friend of mine has a very successful sales training company in Georgia. And he was telling me that they were doing like this build out of this studio, and it required all these plans from the city, and the city kept stalling them and changing the plans and stuff. And then they came back and the city just said like, nope, we're not allowing you guys to do this build. We're not, it's a no to this whole thing. And they were devastated. They're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they shut us down. And then he said, well, maybe we just like go back and like ask again. Like that, let's just go back and say and just ask again. And they did. They went back and asked again and they got a yes. Why? What changed? I don't know. But never, the first no is usually just a reflex, a knee-jerk reaction, kind of like just a temporary stop sign. Always ask again. And if you ask in a respectful, politeful way, if you label it, if you give some context, hey, I know we asked for this 6 months ago, we're asking again, this is really important, blah, 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 whatever, that can go a long way.
There is a negativity bias. I mean, as a parent, even automatically kids ask for something. No. Oh, wait. Ask again. What did you ask for? Like it's just an automatic. And it was funny in sales, sometimes I used to play the like, what if no means yes? Like, is there any reason we couldn't? And they're gonna be like, no. Okay, great, that's a yes. Right? Like those
Right.
kinds of things. Yeah.
That's so funny that you just reminded me of a story I saw
Yeah.
this guy telling about how he was at some store, and the person said something like he said, when you go to the store you're always asked to like sign up for something or do something, and instead of that being the question, the guy just said like, okay, thanks so much for shopping, and he goes, oh no thank you. He literally was scared to say no to whatever the ask was. Like it was gonna, right, sign up for something, join our club, whatever. He was just like, no, thank you. And then he realized, oh, the guy didn't ask me for anything. He said, have a good night. So
No
yeah, just
thanks. No
ready
good.
to say no.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. I love that. So where can people find your book and find your services and work with you?
Yeah, so our book is available on Amazon. It is called Go for No. Yes is the destination. No is how you get there. It's a short, easy to read fable about a guy who wakes up in a house that belongs to a wildly successful future version of himself. And he has to figure out how it is that this future version gets so successful. And the secret happens to be Go for No. Spoiler alert, I'll just share that. So that's on Amazon. And then on our website at Go for No, check us out. We've got a blog. You can read all kinds of good posts, juicy tidbits and action items and things like that. And we also have a no quotient quiz. So you can test and see what your no quotient is in relationship to how you feel about rejection and failure and how you process these things. So that's kind of a fun place to start as well.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. And just before we wrap up, who else besides salespeople would find this useful?
Yeah, I think anyone who finds that they have things in their life that they want that they're not asking for because they have some kind of underlying fear, they don't believe they deserve it, whatever that the case may be. We do Go for No challenges, which help with that. So it's people who fundraise. I have people who fundraise for their kids' school, even colleges. We've got people who are in the arts, actors and musicians, and people who are trying to build communities and have to go out and just ask for tons of stuff, resources and donations, people who have to ask for reviews and referrals. It's really endless, Chrissy, because we
Yeah.
all have to ask for stuff, and none of us want to do that. So
No, no. I just thought of job search because I do a lot of career coaching. Job search would be another place too. Keep
huge.
talking,
Yeah,
keep the doors
recruiters. Yep.
open, keep that
Keep the doors
relationship.
open. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Um,
don't be afraid to just reach out again and say like, "Hey, has anything changed?" That's like your classic follow-up ask, and nobody people hate following up.
no, for sure. Absolutely. Any last words of wisdom you'd love to leave the audience with?
Yeah, asking is a life skill. So the next time you find yourself faced with the opportunity, don't talk yourself out of it. Go for no. The worst that they can say is no. The best that can happen is you might get an unexpected yes.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome talking to you.
Thank you so much.